Once upon a time, there was a little girl who everyone called Little Red Riding Hood.
I'm Little Red Riding Hood.
Little Red Riding Hood's mother sent her on a walk through the woods one day to give her grandmother some freshly baked bread and cookies.
I'm off to give my grandmother some freshly baked bread and cookies.
And so Little Red Riding Hood set off on a journey to deliver the bread and cookies to her grandmother. A little while after she entered the woods, she met a wolf.
Why, hello there, Little Red Riding Hood.
Hello, Wolf.
Where are you off to all alone?
I'm going to my grandmother's house to deliver some freshly baked bread and cookies. My grandmother's getting older and sicker, and my mother gave me these to help her feel better.
How far away does your grandmother live?
Not far. You just follow the path. It's really easy to find.
How sweet of you to bring your grandmother a gift. You should pick her some beautiful flowers to get along with it.
Oh, what a good idea, Mr. Wolf. I'll pick those roses over in the meadow. My grandmother loves roses. Bye, Mr. Wolf. Thanks for the great idea.
Goodbye.
And so the wolf set off for the grandmother's house. He decided that the grandmother would make a tasty meal and Little Red would make a delicious dessert. As Little Red Riding Hood picked the prettiest roses, the wolf made his way to her grandmother's house. The wolf knocked on the door 3 times and an old lady's voice called out, "Who is it?"
It's Little Red Riding Hood. I brought you flowers, freshly baked bread, and cookies.
"Oh, come in, dear." The wolf opens the door and he finds an old lady sitting on her bed. He looks at Granny and licks his lips.
Haha, I'm going to eat you up and then wait for Little Red.
The wolf jumps on Granny and swallows her whole. Then he sits down to wait for Little Red.
Now I just need to wait for Little Red.
Little Red finishes picking flowers and makes her way closer to her grandmother's house, without a clue about what has happened to her grandmother.
I'm so excited to give these flowers and freshly baked bread and cookies to my grandmother. She's going to be all better when she has my cookies.
At the grandmother's house, the wolf stole the grandmother's nightgown and hat and sat down to wait in the bed for Little Red.
I'm all done picking roses. My grandmother is going to be so happy.
So Little Red set off on her way to her grandmother's house again. As she started to approach her grandmother's house, she prepared her gifts and made sure they looked perfect for her beloved grandmother. She knocked on the door and heard a voice.
Come in, dearie.
Little Red opened the door and saw her grandmother sitting in the bed. Her grandmother looked at Little Red and welcomed her.
Welcome in, dearie.
Hi, Granny. I brought you some gifts. There's freshly baked bread and cookies and the most beautiful roses I could pick, just for you, Granny.
Oh, why, thank you, Little Red. The freshly baked bread and cookies look absolutely delicious, and the roses are so beautiful.
However, Little Red noticed something odd about her dear old grandmother.
Oh, Granny, you look odd, and what big eyes you have.
The better to see you with.
But Granny, what big ears you have.
The better to hear you with.
Granny, what big teeth you have.
The better to eat you with.
The wolf launched out of the granny's bed at Little Red. He ripped her grandmother's clothes off himself and chased after Little Red. Little Red screamed, but then the huntsman burst through the door. He killed the wolf and Granny jumped out.
Granny, there you are. Are you okay?
Little Red, I'm okay. Little Red rushed over to hug Granny. The huntsman went outside, and Little Red and her grandmother went outside too. Granny and Little Red thanked the huntsman.
Oh, thank you, mister. I was so scared.
Thank goodness for you. You saved me and my grandmother from being that evil beast's dinner. Come in. Would you like some freshly baked bread and cookies? And they all lived in peace now that the wolf was gone.